Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. Good morning, world. Good morning, America. Marcus Conti reporting. Today is May 10 in the year 2023. 2023, two old men fighting, pushing each other legally out of the way to become president of the United States in 2024, using every means possible to incriminate check, excuse me, and make illegal the other guy's actions. The other guy's actions. Ba 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 boom, ba da boom, 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 boom. La 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 la. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. Difficulties. Good morning, everybody. How are you, man? How you doing, man? How you doing? No Buffy. Hi, welcome to the program, everybody. My name is Marcus Conti, and today, I don't know. It just it seems like two old men running for president. You got Joe Biden. He's going to be, if elected in 2024, he would be 82 years old, running against Donald Trump, who would be 76, I guess, or 78. Two old men running for president. Henry Kissinger, who's 99 years old, probably one of the most controversial politicians in American history, still alive, 99 years old. He's only got one eyeball left, and he has said that this is not a good idea to be running old men for president. Why are we doing that? Right? Are the young men like Vivek Ramaswamy? Vivek, his name is Vivek. We've been saying Vivek, but it's Vivek in Hindu. Is Vivek Ramaswamy not good enough? Is Marianne Williamson not good enough? Is RFK? He's getting a little old there too. But why are we defaulting to old men? And why are the old men defaulting to trying to criminally smear the other? I think that's unprecedented, really, in American politics, where the political system that we have is being used to criminalize the other guy. In the case of Joe Biden, it's his interactions in Ukraine with his son, Hunter Biden, as revealed in the Hunter Biden laptop by the New York Post, the shenanigans that went on there, the ongoing quid pro quo in the Ukraine, the election interference to make that story go away. And then going after, that's criminal stuff. Who's throwing gas on that fire? That would be Trump's team. Is it a valid fire to start to point out that the president is involved in these things with his son? Probably. On the other hand, the sitting president is going after Donald Trump in ways that are unprecedented in American history. Criminal business fraud felonies being launched against Trump to the tune of 34 felony counts. Trump yesterday was found civilly guilty of groping a woman in a locker room. That case, if it wasn't Trump running for re-election, that case would have never been heard. And anything else that Trump does, is being used criminally. So two old men using the legal system to smear each other left, right, and center. Is that what we really need in America? Do we need more of this smearing each other, or do we need a real candidate, a real leader to step up? Both of those guys, dirty old men. Well, it's starting to look like that. Can either one of them win? I think they can win. Yeah, sure. If it's Trump versus Biden, one of them is going to win, unless they both collapse and die. And then what happens? What happens if both Trump? Right, they're old enough, right? This is a hypothesis. What if Trump and Biden are, I don't know, they're going to their respective debates one day, and they both have massive heart attacks and die? Then who's the president? Well, if Biden is still the sitting president at the time, then it would be Kamala Harris. And then her term would end. So she would be running for re-election. But what happens if, I guess I'm wrong in that. Whoever the sitting president is, in this case you have Biden and Trump. Joe Biden's the sitting president. If he dies and Trump dies at the same time, it would always be Joe Biden's vice president who takes the seat, even if Trump won. What happens if Trump wins and then dies before he gets into office? These are things you have to think about with old men, right? Because old men die. We're all going to die, but old men die faster. They definitely die faster because they're closer to death. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Born Annoying. Vinny DiMartini in the house. What's up, champs? TJ. Weevil Girl's here. Snake Plinskin. Snake, what's up, Snake? Champs, I think I said your name 3 times. Clayton Burgese. Chris Milk, good morning. Chris, good morning. William R. Hall, thank you for being here and your fine communications. And what else we got? Yeah, so I have a website. It's marcusconti.com. I forgot to put it up there. And I have a thumbnail too. I forgot to do that too. Let's give you the thumbnail. This is my thumbnail today. Trump and Biden slugging it out. Two real killer politicians. That is the state of it. They're both criminals. One says the other's the criminal, and which is the bigger criminal? I don't know. We're going to find out. But I have a website, and it's marcusconti.com. Marcus in the Morning is the show. Educational, philosophical, live stream. Be very fortunate if you even found us, because we are so shadow banned and so bullied off of this platform. It's unbelievable to the point where I think sometimes I'm just talking to myself. But I'm still here. And I don't know, there might be a name change coming or some kind of switchity switch. You know, why not, man? Look, life is short, right? I used to do that back in the old days, right? When writers would write, they'd write a book, and then if the book didn't do so well, they would change their name, and they'd come back, same writer but just different name. Maybe I'll try one of those. Anyway, so I have a website. Every morning at 9 a.m. we are live right here on YouTube. You can support the program through Zelle. shorthappylife@gmail.com is the email to do that. Send your money, man. Send cash. I'll take it. So let's begin here. Tucker Carlson, the great political commentator who now claims that for many years, for a long time, Fox had their boot on his throat to quiet him down from his true opinions. And it seems that at some point that bubbled over to Tucker Carlson leaving Fox, whether fired or quit or whatever. Tucker Carlson's no longer there, and he seems to be building himself up on Twitter A great guy, a great mind, Tucker Carlson. We don't want to see him go away, and it doesn't appear that he is going away. But he's going the way of Twitter. Let's listen to Tucker Carlson in his own words.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies. But most of the time, that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is, in fact, true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind.
Well, it's either a lie or it's true. What is it? Is it? Are we getting fed lies? Are we lies, or are we getting fed half truths? How does one even define the truth anymore? If look, I could say, let's listen to Tucker Carlson, but the truth is very, very gray these days. I could give you a bunch of facts around the subject and eliminate other key facts, and you wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about in terms of the truth of the story. I think that's what Tucker Carlson is alluding to.
And most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media...
It's like saying Donald Trump messed up in a phone call with Zelensky in the Ukraine, right? That's what Trump was impeached for having a conversation with Zelensky, the then president of Ukraine, and suggesting that he do a little investigation into the Biden family corruption circle, whatever. Right? To say that Trump is a bad guy for that, you're not looking at all the good that Trump had done 4 years as president. So is it truthful to say Trump is a criminal in this sense, a treasonous motherfucker in this sense? No, it's not, but that's how the media spins it. And that's what Tucker Carlson was forced to do in his career at Fox, he says.
You are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it.
Or shadow banned, right? Fired if you work for somebody, or just attacked viscerally and vigorously over and over again, and tried to be made to go away. It's censorship.
That's not a
and Tucker's about to experience that full on.
Right. That's not a guess. It's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed. It is guaranteed. He's right about that.
Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are
now. That's bullshit right there, Tucker. Twitter is the only free speech platform left on the planet. What are you talking about? Come on, don't lose us, Tucker. Don't go the way of the propagandist.
That allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here.
That's just, I don't even know what Twitter he's looking at. Okay, modern Twitter with Elon Musk at the helm, yeah, maybe. But what about before that? And why is it now suddenly free speech and before it wasn't? Look, if something starts out as incredibly censored and suddenly gets exposed for its censorship, that doesn't make it free speech. It makes it a debunked platform, in my view. Twitter is a debunked platform. Elon Musk, he bought it, for $50 billion. I hope he got his money's worth. But is it a free speech platform? I don't think so.
And we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years.
All right, well, that's an announcement. Tucker Carlson is doing a new show, and he's plugging Twitter as being the only big platform of free speech available, which is grossly inaccurate. So, Tucker Carlson, respectfully, stop bullshitting like that. Talk about the horrible things that Twitter was involved in, having the FBI there, censoring anybody that was remotely on the right side of politics over and over and over again. That's not a free speech platform. It wasn't.
To Twitter. We bring some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Okay. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others.
All right. As long as you're in front of the crowd, Tucker, is that how it works? As long as your free speech is protected, which Twitter probably will respect it because they want Tucker over there. But what about the rest of us? What about everybody else? What about the little guy? We got nothing out of it but fucking bullshit.
See you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks, Tucker. Thank you, Tucker Carlson. Also in political news, Governor Daniel Newsom out there in California, the big black reparation guy, the white governor who's banging on the war drum to get the blacks in California millions and billions of free money because of the way their ancestors were treated on American soil. He put together a committee to look into how much each black should get, and they came up with a number. They had a number, and when it came push to shove, Mr. Newsom, Gavin Newsom, got the fuck out of the way and said, no, we're not going to do that. So he's a liar. Governor Newsom declines to endorse reparations checks proposed by California task force. California Governor Gavin Newsom declined to throw his support behind cash payments of up to $1.2 million for blacks recommended by his reparation task force. So he puts together a reparations task force, and the task force says give every black in California $1.2 million. And Gavin says, nah, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do it. You put together some of the most radical blacks in California on a panel, right? A task force, and all 9 of them agree that blacks should get some money. They should get some free money because their ancestors was dissed. My ancestors was dissed by the white man. And I should get some money. A lot of it, like millions. I get some millions. Right. That's bullshit right there. So he played the black card, not even the race card, because there is no longer a race card. There's a black card. There's a black card and the other white card. Democratic governor told Fox Digital on Tuesday that reparations meant to take responsibility for country's history of slavery and systemic racism is about much more than cash. That's one way of getting out of it. He called the task force findings a milestone in the efforts to advance justice. This has been an important process, and we should continue to work as a nation to reconcile our original sin of slavery and understand how that history has shaped our country. Newsom said in a statement to the outlet, dealing with the legacy is about much more than cash payments. So, cash money off the table, blacks. Sorry, Charlie. You got bamboozled by a savvy Hollywood white guy. Gavin Newsom pulled a sheet over your black eye. Blacks, how do you feel about that? You thought you were going to get the money. He thought you were after the money, but he says, no, you're getting plenty of attention. That's enough. It's more than just about cash. He declined to endorse any specific recommendation by the task force while still praising its work. Yeah, you're doing good work. Just keep blabbing about it, but we're not going to do anything about it. Crazy, right? Talk about say one thing and do another. I would have had more respect for him if he would have at least said, okay, every black in California gets $1 million. And then they figure out, they sit down at the table and say, where are we going to get $1 million for every black? We don't have it. And then it gets tabled for 10 years and 20 years and 50 years and 100 years. And then everybody forgets about it when Gavin Newsom is dead and all the blacks shut the hell up. But no, he didn't go that direction. He just said, no, we're not giving him anything. Many of the recommendations, this is Gavin Newsom saying it, many of the recommendations put forward by my task force are critical action items we've already been hard at work addressing, breaking down barriers to vote. That's not reparations. Bolstering resources to address hate. That's not reparations either. That's not free money. Enacting sweeping law enforcement and justice reform to build trust and safety. Bullshit. There's no trust and safety in California regarding lawless blacks. People are afraid of them. Strengthening economic mobility. Where? All while investing billions, right? So he's a lying mother effer right here. He was for reparations until his radical blacks task force said, okay, we'll give them each 1.2. And Gavin Newsom said 0. How about that? 9-member committee voted in favor of several recommendations Saturday, including cutting eligible black Californians a minimum of $360,000 each in checks. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. And there they are, they're all black, and they want money. There's a white guy, he's got a black wife, he's going to get half. There's another white guy, he's got a black daughter, he's going to get a quarter. The sound guy's got to listen to it because he's getting paid. But look at all these blacks. I want some money. Oh, yeah, it's a good idea. My ancestors took some shit by these white men. They stuffed me on a boat. Moroccan motherfuckers sold my ass to the white man. And I ended up in Virginia fucking doing cotton and tobacco. I don't know nothing about cotton and tobacco. They're going back into the Stone Age, right? What about today? Which one of you ever picked cotton or tobacco? Which one of you was ever a slave anywhere? Which one of your children was ever a slave? Which one of your children's 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 children, or which grandpappy was ever a slave? None of them. None of your children were slaves. None of your anybody that you know that's alive was never a slave, right? But you deserve the money, right? We should give you money. We should go back in history, and every immigrant that's ever come to the country and had a struggle and fight for their own rights, like every fucking other person who comes here, we should give them 1.2 million or 360,000 as starters, just for the fuck of it, right? Why not? Why not? So anyway, it would cost taxpayers $800 billion to do this, more than 2.5 times the California's annual budget. So congratulations, Daniel Newsom, or Gavin Newsom, whatever the hell your name is. Let's talk about presidential politics. Henry Kissinger is almost dead. He's 99. And he said, the 99-year-old foreign policy veteran recently said, the job of a president, quote, takes a certain capacity physically. He said there's some advantages in maturity, but also warned that, quote, there are dangers in exhaustion and a limited capacity to work with increased age. That is truth. And who was he talking about? He was talking about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So Joe Biden would be 82 years old if elected again for a second term. 82. He's already senile. He's already showing signs of old age, and he'll be 82. And then if he gets elected in, he'll be 86. Is he going to live that long? Who knows? On the other hand, Trump was 70 when he was elected in 2016. And if elected again, he would be 78. Trump in 2004 will be 78. So you've got a 78-year-old man running against an 82-year-old man. Is 4 years really that big of a spread at that age? I don't think so. I mean, is a 18-year-old more mature than a 14-year-old? Yeah, there's a physical size, but what's the difference between a 50-year-old and a 54-year-old, or a 78 and a 74-year-old? There's really no difference. What about a 78 and 82 is not much of a spread in age. So Trump needs to shut the F up, because he's an old man too. And he's going to slip pretty quick, Trump. Once his mind, right now, he's firing on all cylinders, no doubt. Trump is tough. But he's going to fucking fizzle out eventually. He's going to get old and lazy like the other guy. So how does Trump get away with calling Joe Biden Sleepy Joe Biden? All right, so that's the age gap. Let's continue on this. So what do old men do? How do they win an election? Well, they accuse the other guy of criminal and civil violations of the American law. You're Trump. You groped the woman in a department store, in the dressing room. How dare you? What an animal! Right? And that case was nowhere to be found while Trump was in office. And where did it come from? They dug it up. Alvin Bragg in New York, Letitia James, all the racist blacks are going after Trump criminally. And Trump, on the other hand, is going after Biden criminally. But Trump, this is true. This is breaking news. Trump found liable for sexual abuse, defamation in E. Jean Carroll case. $5 million in damages Trump must pay. Let's watch some fake news report. Fox reporting.
We're going to go back to Brian Yennis because they're reading the verdict right now. Brian, what can you tell us?
The verdict right now is on the question of whether or not Mr. Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. The jury has found him, has said no. But on the question...
So not guilty. Not guilty in terms of rape. Trump didn't rape anybody. Did he push himself up on some, at the time, attractive Ellie? She worked for Ellie, ELLE, Ellie Publications, and the girl was looking for a hot story, and Trump gave her one. Trump gave her a hot story in the dressing room. Did he force himself on her? I would bet absolutely fucking not. Did something go down in that clothing store that day? Probably nothing that spectacular. But 30 years later, the old hag is trying to take Trump down. And who's fueling it? I don't know. Whoever's putting this case together is fueling it. So not guilty for rape, but let's make him pay $5 million.
Of whether or not she was sexually abused by the former president and whether or not he forcibly touched her, the jury has come back and said yes, they have found him liable for sexually abusing and forcibly touching.
Forcibly touching. What does that mean, forcibly touching? Do you really think that Trump is going to forcibly, the savvy billionaire guy who can have any woman he wants, do you really think that he's gonna push up on somebody like that, force someone into it's ridiculous? Did he lure her into the closet for a little nookie? Well, it's probably possible. And who's better than Trump for having sex in the dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman across the street from where he lives, right? That's a story you tell your friends. Yeah, man. So I was checking out some lingerie for my bitch, and this hot reporter walks in. She's hot to me. She's I said try this shit on, and they went into the locker room, and there was a little nookie, and that was the end of it. Stupid. That's not forcible rape. That's not $5 million for you. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous, stupid story that wouldn't have ever surfaced if it wasn't that Donald Trump was being attacked by the current administration.
E. Jean Carroll back in 1996. That is what we have thus far, guys.
All right. Do we have Andy McCarthy here too, guys? All right, let's go to Andy McCarthy. Andy, we have all sort of been through the circumstances of what she alleged happened in this dressing room. And now we're being told that the 9 jurors in this case, which is a civil case, a financial case, have come back with a verdict of no to the rape charge, yes to battery, and abuse and forcible touching. So they...
Abuse and forcible touching. What is abuse and forcible touching? What is abuse? Saying, come here, bitch. I want you to touch me. A person is guilty of forcible touching when such person intentionally and for no legitimate purpose forcibly touches the sexual or other intimate parts of another person for the purpose of degrading or abusing such person, or for the purpose of gratifying the actor's sexual desire. Now, in sexuality, have you ever watched creatures copulate? It's almost always one is pushing up on the other. Usually the man pushes up on the female, but not today. You got women that will twerk a man in a nightclub. Man sitting down having his drink, and some bitch will come along and sit on his lap and twerk him. Right out there in the public. That shit is happening today. Is that forcible? Well, yeah, it is. But the guy is smiling with his drink. He's like, look at me, man. I got this bitch twerking on my dick. What is forcible? It's silly season. So it just, my point of that is that these cases, when you look at them, are ridiculous. Right? The 34 felony cases against Trump is ridiculous. The impeachment of Donald Trump for having a phone conversation as the president of the United States with another president in another country and perceiving that as impeachable is utterly ridiculous. Going after all of Trump's colleagues like Steve Bannon, certainly Rudy Giuliani, two outstanding politicians, is ridiculous. Right? So and what is that for? Why are they going after him? Because he's running for president. They got to smear him. What else? What else we got here? I lost the article. Yeah. Oh, here we are.
they've come back, Andy, with a belief that they believed her story.
Not only that, Martha, I think we can already conclude that probably the most important evidence in the case turns out to be the two other women that Judge Lewis Kaplan allowed to testify who claimed that they were sexually abused by Donald Trump.
Okay,
So
we have another verdict. We have another one that we're going to
seems-
do. Andy, just stand by for 1 second. Let's go to Brian Yennes. Brian, on the defamation charge, what can you tell us?
Martha, this jury has found that former President Trump did defame E. Jean Carroll. They have found him liable for defamation, and they say that he must pay $2 million to E. Jean Carroll for the battery charge. No word yet on how much they have allotted in terms of the defamation charge. And remember, this defamation charge was about those, they have the burden of proof for defamation was that it had to be clear and convincing that the statements made about E. Jean Carroll were not only false, but that they were done maliciously and out of hatred or ill will, spite, or recklessness. And they have found that he is liable for defamation, and they have said that.
That's outrageous. That is an outrageous. How do you measure ill will and the other things they mentioned 30 years after the fact because one old hag says he touched me inappropriately? This is kangaroo. This is kangaroo court. This is what political prosecution looks like. That's what it is. This is it. You go after my son, Trump. You're going after Hunter. You went after Hunter. And this is what you get.
Former President Trump should pay E. Jean Carroll $2 million, at least for the battery charge.
Okay,
Martha.
so at least $2 million, Andy, is the verdict in the financial verdict in this case. We know the former president has already said that he will appeal this case. So how do you expect it to work from here with regard to all of that?
Trump's going to appeal. That's interesting.
Well, I think the appeal has been hurt by the verdict because what I think former President Trump would like to tell an appellate court is that the jury was steamrolled into this conclusion, but they're obviously very discriminating. The verdict makes sense in the sense that they acquitted, or they found him not liable, rather, on the rape charge. Mm-hmm. They found him guilty on the sexual abuse charges, the lesser ones. And the reason for that, I think, is that if you take the testimony of the three different women.
If two people are dancing on the dance floor, right? I used to work at Webster Hall in New York City. I used to work in a busy nightclub, not for a long time, for a year or two. I was a fortune teller. And if people are boogieing and dancing on the dance floor, right? And maybe there's, a man and woman, and then they start getting into it, and they, because dancing is very sexual. And the man, pulls the woman in a little bit, and then or even how about in ballroom dancing, right, where the man pulls the woman in, and there's a bit of a sway and a grind, and it's a romantic interaction in dance, right? Is that inappropriate? At some point, where do we draw the line where man and woman can interact without it being seen as abuse? Is that where we're leading to? That there needs to be formal papers signed before a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman can engage in some sort of intimate interaction? Are humans moving so far away that we could actually say that? Hell fucking no. We're not going in that direction. This is fantasy. This is political prosecution. Right, that's what it is. It's also borderline election interference because Trump's running for president.
Women who testified in the trial, only E. Jean Carroll went so far as to say that an actual rape occurred. I think that may have been a bridge too far for the jury, and they decided that they would go at least as far as the other two victim witnesses described.
So that's that. Let's see how the other. Let's see how fake news CBS reported.
Manhattan jury has found former President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and then defaming writer E. Jean Carroll. The unanimous verdict was reached after about 3 hours of deliberations. Graham Cates has the latest from New York.
A jury found former President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing the writer E. Jean Carroll in a New York City department store in the mid-1990s. The jury awarded Carroll $5 million in damages. Carroll said that she bumped into Trump in a Bergdorf Goodman in New York as she was about to leave it, and that they ultimately walked through the store, engaging in at first playful, joking banter before this light scene turned dark when he assaulted her in a dressing room. Carroll's team called 11 witnesses during the trial, some who testified that she confided to them in the moments and day after the alleged attack. But Trump called no witnesses.
Notice how CBS fails to mention that there was no rape charge? You notice how it goes back to what Tucker Carlson is saying. Cherry picking the facts. Although Trump was found guilty, liable, civilly liable, no criminal charge for rape was filed. Although it was filed, but he was not found guilty of rape. CBS fails to mention that.
And did not show up at the trial at all. Ultimately, one of Carroll's attorneys told the jury, you have to decide whether all 11 of our witnesses committed perjury or whether Trump is lying. And the jury ultimately found that it was Trump who was lying. Right.
So there you go. They made their case. CBS makes the case that Trump has civil penalties, but they fail to mention that he was acquitted on the rape charge. What's this here? Right. So that's what's happening with Trump. But what is it intimately connected to what is happening with Hunter Biden? What will President Biden do if his son is indicted by federal prosecutors in Delaware? Now, the only reason Hunter Biden can be federally indicted in Delaware is because of what Trump did, what Trump discovered, what Trump's team discovered. Rudy Giuliani got the laptop from the technician and gave it to the New York Post, who told everybody about it. So that was Trump's doing, no doubt about it. Was it a good deed? Yeah, it was very important, interesting information about the Biden's, dealings in the Ukraine, how the money flows, right? How quid pro quo, what quid pro quo looks like, what bribery in the modern age looks like. It was a fascinating story. Is it anything like what, look, the Trump thing is it's just so ridiculous. But you see how the point is that it's a tit for tat, right? These two guys now go after Trump, right? Because they have power, right? Those are dirty old men, throwing each other under the bus because that's all they got at this point, right? That's how they do politics. That's the politics of the past. Maybe it is the politics of the past. Vivek Ramaswamy is not talking about election fraud or corruption in the Biden House. He's talking about American values, about what it means to be American as a Hindu American or whatever, Indian American, American Indian, whatever the fuck he is. I think that's a resonating message, not who's more of a criminal than the other. Right? People are tired of that shit. People are tired of that shit, I think. Does this all play? I don't know, man. I think in the end of the day, though, when there is a debate and people are going to push the button, if the two choices are Biden and Trump, the American people are going to look to say, well, who made who look worse? Who looks worse? Not who looks better, but who looks worse, right? And then pick the other guy. So, what else we got here? Oh, also in corrupt politician news, lying rep George Santos. You remember that guy? George Santos? He is being criminally prosecuted for his lying. Let's listen.
We're also following another breaking headline tonight. Sources telling ABC News a short time ago that federal prosecutors have just filed criminal charges against New York Congressman George Santos. Santos has admitted to lying about many parts of his life, including his resume, his college degree, and his family background. Let's get right to Rachel Scott. She's live.
George Santos is not a popular guy in Washington. That's probably his own party. Guys like Mitt Romney going after him.
On the Hill tonight, Rachel, we could see Congressman Santos in federal court as soon as tomorrow.
Exactly, David. And right now, the exact charges remain unknown, under seal in that indictment. But Republican Congressman George Santos is accused of fabricating almost every detail of his life, from his resume to his background. But sources tell us the focus of this investigation is on the money and whether he illegally used his campaign finances. Congressman Santos has still refused to answer many questions, including how he made $55,000 and then 2 years later personally loaned his campaign more than $500,000.
All right, so this is what happens when you cheat your way into politics, right? You lie about your background, you lie about your education, you lie about your work experience, and the sheep in your community, in your district, vote for you, and you win. Right? And then you go to D.C. and all the truths, all your horrible lies come out. Right? And you fail to resign. Right? George Santos is guilty of not resigning after getting caught in a web of lies. So this is what you get. Oh, you're not going to leave? Good. Now you're going to go to jail. Right? This is reparations for being a dickhead.
We also know that the FBI has been looking into whether he used a fake charity to rip off a veteran and his dying dog. At this point, sources tell me that Santos was caught off guard by this indictment. He has remained defiant through this all, refusing to step down. And tonight, his office has declined to comment, David.
All right, Rachel Scott with news from her sources.
So this is reparations for being a dickhead. I forgot to open up. Go look at the markets. Let's look at the markets. The markets are open, and pow! Ooh, NASDAQ up. NASDAQ is up. Good morning, America. NASDAQ is up 79 points right now. Dow down 76. S&P 500 up 7. Inflation, breaking news, the headline on Yahoo Finance, inflation continues to cool. Prices rose 4.9% in April, a slight slowdown. All right, so that's a turn of events. That's a shift. They were expecting inflation to heat up. And, yeah, you could see the spike up on the news, right? Spike up on the news, right? It was going down, but now it went back up. I'm looking at the NASDAQ because inflation is cooling, according to the report. So let's see how the big board is handling it. See how technology is up. Apple up 86 cents. Amazon up $2. Google up $1.45. Meta, formerly Facebook, up $1.46. Microsoft up $2.15. Rivian up $1.75 to $15 a share. I still think that's a steal in this area. $15.61. Tesla up $3.67. That's a big bump. This company PPL, the company that I forgot what they do. They make they dig for lithium diggers. Up 23 cents. Lithium as it pertains to battery operated vehicles. Definitely a company to watch. PPL on the New York Stock Exchange. War stocks. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon down. The holiest of holy stocks, the ones that bring you the magic vaccine that will cure every single problem you have and then some, they say. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, all down today. Goodbye. What about Bitcoin? How's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin up. Bitcoin roaring up. Bitcoin up 500 points today to 28,100. Let's look at that chart. A way to look at it is BITO. That's the ETF that trades Bitcoin. So if you're interested in buying Bitcoin, but you don't have that kind of cash, then this is the other way to look at it. What is it? What am I looking at here? There's a 15-minute chart. Let's look at the daily. 1 day. All right, so there it is. There it is. That's the ETF that tracks Bitcoin, BITO, coming in at $16 a share. The low was 9. The high was 43. Now, if Bitcoin goes back to $60,000 a share, this stock is going to go from 15 all the way back up to 40 or 50. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, which I don't know, it looks like it's holding at this level. If you think Bitcoin is going to continue to go up, I don't really have a deep opinion of it because it's not something I look at. At $16.30, BITO would be your pick. So thank you all for joining me. Mark Sconti reporting. I don't know, man. It's a world of dirty old men and liars and lying, corrupt politicians and the sun is out. Did I mention that? The sun is out. I put my plants in the ground. I put my plants in the ground yesterday. Yesterday I also put a new strand of mint into the ground. Look at this one. Mint strawberry. Mint strawberry. What a great plant. I bought this one in the plant store, right? You only have to plant one mint plant, and it grows everywhere if you just leave it year after year. So I just introduced mint strawberry, and that makes me very happy. Right? The simple things make me very happy. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to take the sun today, take my shirt off, and lay out. And yesterday I was pushing a lawnmower, so today I get a day off. And enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Thank you all for joining me. Jim Gerard in the house. Chris Milk. Weeble Girl. Vinny Martini. Sid Cooter. Good morning. Colossal Bigfoot. Thank you all, really. I really appreciate you guys all being here. And without you, there's no me. It's a team effort, man. Mark Scante, you're reporting.